Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial we are going to be working on these granny triangle towel toppers. So they're super easy to make and they're great stash busters. All you need is some scrap stash busters. I meant scrap busters, sorry. All you need is some scrap 4-weight yarn, a 1-inch button, embroidery floss that matches your button, a 5mm hook, pair of scissors, a needle to weave in your ends, and then you're going to need a needle to sew on your button with your embroidery floss. So it's really important to make sure that your needle with the embroidery floss on the needle fits through the holes of that button, okay? So get you that. And then of course you need a cute towel to put a topper on. My husband brought me these home. I think these 1, 2, 3 were from Walmart. This one I don't remember where he got that one. That one might have been from Walmart too. It was a while ago. This is the one we make in the tutorial. This one I do want to tell you guys, if you decide you want to use a 3-weight, I made the exact same towel topper, same pattern, everything, using 2 strands of a 3-weight with a 5mm hook, and it works. It came out perfect. Let's see. I'm pretty sure that is it. That's all you need. The 1-inch the 1-inch button, scrap 4-weight or 3-weight if you want, needle to weave in your ends, needle to sew on your button, 5mm scissors, an embroidery floss that matches your button, and a cute towel. Okay, so get your supplies together and let's get started. Okay, so to get started, we are going to make our triangle. Now you need 2 of these triangles, and I've already got one of them done, so I'm going to show you guys how to make one, and then you make 2, and we'll move on. So get a slip knot on your hook. We are going to start with a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slip stitch to that first chain to form a ring. I always like to wiggle my fingers and find that ring. Pull that first tail tight to close that up and chain 1. And into the ring we are going to work a double. Work over your tail too. Double. Chain 1 and then go back in there with 3 more doubles. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2. Go back in there with 3 more double. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1 and then 1 more double crochet into there. Just like that, and that's your row 1. You can go ahead and pull that tail just a tad. Don't pull it too tight because it'll distort that straight line that we have. It'll distort this straight line. See how my center's open still just a tad bit? So if you don't fully close that, it'll stay nice and pretty and straight. Alright, so to move on to round 2, we are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn. Now into that very first chain 1 space right here, right in there, we're going to work 3 double crochet. Let's go right in there with 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. Now we're going to jump to that chain 2 space, which that's the peak of our triangle. The chain 2 is always going to be the peak of our triangle, okay? Alright, so into the chain 2 peak, we're going to work 3 double crochet, chain 2, and then go right back in there with 3 more double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, scooch it over if you need to, and 3. Chain 1. Now we're going to come over to the last chain 1 space right in there, and we're going to work our 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, and then into the very last double crochet we're going to work 1 double, and this is going to be a tad bit hard to see because that double crochet is turned a little. So if you rotate your work right there, you can see the top of that double right there, that V. So what I do is I just hold my work, grab where that double is, and just rotate it a little bit, and then you turn, and right there, just barely turn your work and you can see that double right there. I guess I should have told you, you could have marked it with a stitch marker if it was going to be a bit hard to see. I should have said that, sorry. Anyway, I'm sorry. You can go in there and then just work a double crochet. That's the only time you're going to have to work into that double. So, I mean, if you can't exactly see where you're going, just shove your hook in there and work a double. It'll work out. All right, now we're going to chain 4 and turn our work. And this is going to be the repeat row. So into that very first chain 1 space, we're going to work 3 double. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1, 3 double into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, and then obviously not for this round, but for the next few rounds, you're just going to 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet into each of the chain 1 spaces until you get to the chain 2 of your peak. Okay, so 3 double, chain 1 into each of your chain 1 spaces until you get to your peak, and then into the peak we are going to work, make sure you chain 1 before your peak. We're going to work 3 double, chain 2, go right back in there with 3 more double. All right, chain 1, jump to your next chain 1 space and work 3 double, and then you're going to repeat that down the other side of your triangle for each row. 3 double crochet, chain 1, jump to the next chain 1 space, 3 double crochet, chain 1, jump to the next chain 1 space. Work that all the way down until the space between your last 3 double crochet and that turning chain 4. So that space right in there. Okay? We are going to work 3 double crochet right into that space. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to chain 1. And then our chain, now if you look, you can see the back of your chains. You have the first hump, the second hump, and your third hump, and then the 4th one is underneath those double crochets we just worked, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet into the 3rd chain up, right through there. So you want the back hump and the side loop of your chain to be under the double crochet you're getting ready to work, and then the remaining loop of that chain is what's going to be left. So you have a sturdy base to work that double crochet into. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go right under that side loop, and I'm going to catch that back hump and work my double just like that, and then chain 4 and turn, and you're going to repeat what we just did. So that was round 3. So round 4, which I'm going to go ahead and just do with you guys, round 4, and then you're going to have 5, 6, and 7. You're going to repeat the exact same thing we're getting ready to do again. Okay, so you're going to work 3 double crochet into that very first chain 1 space. Chain 1, jump to the next chain 1 space, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 jump to the next chain 1 space, 3 double crochet, chain 1. And obviously this is row 4, so row 5 you're going to have one more chain 1 space, row 6 you'll have one more, and so on. Okay, so chain 1 into our chain 2 peak, we're going to work 3 double. Did I say chain 1 peak? I meant chain 2 peak, sorry. We're going to work 3 double, chain 2, and go right back in there with 3 more double crochet. Chain 1, jump to your next chain 1 space and work 3 double. And of course it's the same thing down this side. Chain 1, jump to that next chain 1 space, 3 double. Chain 1, jump to the next chain 1 space, 3 double. All the way until your space between your last 3 double crochet and your turning chain 4. And then in that space between the turning chain 4 and the last 3 double, we're going to work 3 double. Chain 1, and then look for the back humps of your chain. So we have one there, and there's my third one. We're going to double crochet into the third chain up. So just look for that third back hump and work right through there where you've got the side loop and the back hump, and work a double. Chain 4 and turn. So I just did row 4 with you, so do the exact same thing we just did for 5, 6, and 7. And I'm going to get mine done off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just finished row 7. So I am going to, well, I already chained 1 after that last double. Pull up a loop and, well, of course, I've been sitting, oh, here it is. Anyway, it cut. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and weave in those ends, and while I'm doing that, I am going to tell you guys that the last piece we are going to make is the little, the strap that we put around the stove handle or your refrigerator handle, which I know refrigerator handles. Oh, excuse me. I got something in my throat. I know refrigerator handle sounds funny, but my refrigerator has the French doors on top and then the freezer drawer on the bottom. And I hang a bunch of these on that drawer on the bottom. If I remember, I will add a picture so you guys can see it. I put them there because my nice, cute towels that my husband buys me, so I should have started with this. My husband is the cook in this house. He loves to cook. And I don't care it doesn't bother me at all to cook. I'll cook anything, you know. But I'm not going to go into the kitchen and try to make something because he comes right behind me and he's like, "Oh, you're doing this wrong. You got to do it like this. You do it like this." And I'm just like, "Okay, here you go. You take over, honey. You enjoy." Right? So anyway, I'm saying all that to say the reason why I have them hanging from the drawer of the freezer is because he'll just reach down there and grab my cute little, like this one. I love this towel. And he'll reach down there and just wipe his hands all over it, cover it in grease. And I'm like, that's not to be used. That's decorative purposes only, dearie. Thank you. So he gets aggravated. So I hang him that's why I hang him from the freezer handle. Okay, so anyway, let's start with this strap. I am going to get a slip knot on my hook. And like always, don't forget to have enough tail to weave in. Put that on my hook. And we are going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I feel like that's wrong. Let me check my pattern. No, that's right. I don't know why I was thinking it was a chain of 7, but no, it's chain 8. And then we're going to single crochet into the second chain from our hook. So not this one right here, but this one right here. We're going to single crochet right into there. And then single crochet into each chain across. last chain right there. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn, single crochet into that very first single, and then single crochet into each single across. And that is what we're going to repeat over and over until our little strap measures 5.5 inches. So just like that. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn, single crochet across, chain 1 and turn, single crochet across, chain 1 and turn, single crochet across. Repeat that until we are at 5.5 inches. So I'm going to leave my little tape measure here, and off camera I'm going to get this done and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's see what I got. Tad bit over 5.5, but that's okay, no big deal. All right, so now we're going to make the little buttonhole. So, find my button. Now, I do want to show you guys, like I said in the intro, I'm going to show you how to change your buttonhole size depending on the size of the button you're using. Oh, look at that. That's pretty. I didn't see that before. I guess I should make sure it's bigger. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't paying attention. I was too excited about how pretty it was. All right, so for your buttonhole, take your piece and then set your button over your stitches. So I can see that I can do 1, 2 single crochet, chain 1, 2, 3, skip 3, 2 single crochet, and that'll leave me a little buttonhole that I can pop that button in. So if I take the bigger button and hold it over my work, I can see 1 full single and 1 full single. So what I would do is single into the first, chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip 5, single crochet into the last. Now that is going to leave that a little unstable, so I would when you weave in ends, I would probably weave an end, your end off from your working yarn down this side and stabilize it, and then just add another strand of yarn down this side to stabilize it. So I do say any size button, but obviously you don't want a button bigger than your strap, right? I mean, obviously you don't want that. So I would suggest sticking with the, how big is that? That is straight up 1 inch button. Okay, so like I said, for my button, I can see I can get 2 single crochets, chain 1, 2, 3, skip 3, 2 single crochets. So that's what I'm going to work for my 1 inch buttonhole. Chain 1 and turn, single into the first, single into the second, and I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3. So chain 1, 2, 3, skip the 3, single into the second to last, and single into the last. All right, now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to single crochet into each single and into each of the chains. Now I am going to work through the chain to where I get the back hump and the top loop. And now into the last 2 singles. And then 1 more row, chain 1 and turn, and just single into each of the singles. Chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. All right, so now you can see your little buttonhole. shouldn't do this because I might launch this button, but there. So now you know you got a good buttonhole. Pops right through there. Okay. So now I am going to weave in my 2 ends right here. And then when we come back, and I realize I didn't give you guys time to make that second triangle, but when I come back, we are going to assemble all our pieces and make our tail topper. So go ahead and get your other triangle done, get your ends weaved in, get your ends weaved in on your strap, and we will finish this up. Now it's going to go just like this. Ta-da! All right, I will be right back. Okay, so now that we've got all our pieces made, our ends weaved in, we are going to assemble it, which is super easy. We're going to take our 2 triangles, and we want that last row, that row 7, the double crochets to face us, and on the bottom square away from us. So the backs of the double crochets are going to lay on top of each other, just like that. So it's front of doubles, front of doubles. And what we're going to do, we're going to attach into the back loop of both squares, triangles, and slip stitch all the way up to the last chain 1 space before our chain 2 peak. And then what we're going to do, find your buttonhole and make sure it's not being slid into the triangles. We're going to slide in our strap and set it right over that chain 1 space and the chain 1 space, the very first chain 1 space after the peak. And then we're going to slip stitch through all 3 pieces to that first chain 1 space, and then just through both the triangles to that end. So it's super easy. So I'm going to get a slip knot on my hook, and as always, make sure you have enough tail to weave in. And I'm going to go through on this triangle, it's actually the 3rd chain up. So I'm just going to go right through that chain like we normally would. And then on this triangle, it's actually a double crochet, but it's a little distorted from weaving in my end. So I'm just going to go right through it. And then we are going to slip stitch. Now we want to work this loosely. If you do it too tight, it's going to bunch up your triangle, and we don't want that. So it wouldn't hurt if you want to go up to a 6mm hook instead of using that 5. But I'm just going to go stitch for stitch. So the next one is my chain. So I'm going to go through the back loop of that, the back loop of the chain on the other triangle, and slip stitch. Back loop through both pieces and slip stitch. So like I said, I'm going to work this until the very last chain 1 space before our peak. Okay, so I'm just going to slip stitch up this, and I'll meet you at that the last chain 1 space before our peak. Okay, so I made it to that last chain 1 space. So now I'm going to take my strap, make sure I'm not working with the end with the buttonhole, and I'm going to just open this and set it right over that chain 1. And now I'm going to go through the chain 1, through the strap, through the other chain 1. So there's the back loop. I'm going to catch that strap, and then through, let me find it right there, through the other chain 1. Oh, I didn't catch it. There. And slip stitch. And that's what I'm going to repeat, making sure my strap stays. Well, you know what? Let's get a stitch marker. And let's go through that chain 1. Set that strap nice and pretty again. The strap and the other chain 1, and that'll help keep that strap in place while we slip stitch through all that. Okay, all right, so getting my yarn in my hand, I go through the next double, through the strap, through the next back loop and slip stitch. Next double through the strap and the back loop, which I already got a hold of whenever when my hook popped through the strap. And come on now, slip stitch. Double through the strap, back loop of that double, slip stitch, chain through the strap, through that chain, all the way back through, slip stitch. Next chain through the strap, through that next chain, and slip stitch. Now I'm to that first double through the strap, right there, and slip stitch. Next double, pop it right through that strap, through the next double, and slip stitch. Last double through the strap. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Through the strap, through that last double, and slip stitch. And now I'm to that chain. And I'm just going to go ahead and work through everything without taking that stitch marker out. Okay, so I'm going to have to. Now just go through that last chain right there and slip stitch, and my strap should stay nice and straight. And if it's a little, actually I'll show you guys just a second. This one I actually got a little cockeyed on the strap, see, but it's not a big deal. Like you can't even tell it when it's strapped. So if it's a little cockeyed, don't worry about it. It'll be all right. Nobody will notice. All right, now I'm just gonna continue to back loop, slip stitch through the doubles and the chains till the very last. Chain 4, or no, yeah, that's a double that's all wonky. The last double and the last chain, okay? So I will meet you at this corner. Be right back. Okay, so I'm coming to this end. I'm gonna put my fingers between the last chain space. I go through the last double, go through the chain, and then on this one, it's the wonky looking double from weaving in my end, and a chain 1, pull up a loop, get your hair out of it, cut, and that is the end of our assembly part. So that was pretty painless, right? I'll weave in these ends later. What we're going to do now is attach our work on the inside, our chain, or our working yarn on the inside, and then we're going to chain a piece across, slip stitch, and then that's going to be the little hanger that we wrap our towel around. So this little piece, this chain in here, which is super easy to do. We are going to start with a slip knot on our hook, and again, make sure you have enough tail to weave in. And with the front of our work facing us, which, I mean, at this point, what's your front, right? You don't know. Just with your piece facing you, we're going to open up, and we're going to come to the right corner, the right edge, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth set of 3 double crochets. So we have the 1 down here, 1, there's 2, 3, and 4. We're going to attach around the post of that first double crochet of the 4th set of 3 doubles. So to attach, we're just going to slip stitch right around right around the post of that very first double. I'm trying to hold everything open so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do before we do it. We're going to chain a length that reaches across to the exact same double crochet on the same triangle, but we're not going to slip stitch to that double crochet on this triangle. We're going to slip stitch it to that double crochet on the top triangle. So 1, 2, 3, the same double crochet on the opposite triangle. So you count up 4 and that very first double crochet of the 4th set of 3 doubles. So our little chain is going to go from, it's going to set on the inside like this. Instead of us slip stitching it to the same double crochet on one triangle, we're going to bring it up like this, and we're going to make it catty corners. So what happens is it distributes the weight of the towel evenly across the slip stitches that we did, slip stitching the triangles together. So it's going to distribute the weight onto this triangle and to this triangle on the opposite sides. Because if we did it like this, what would happen was the weight of that towel would make the towel topper bow like that. And that's not what we want. So we got to distribute the weight. So to do that, we just use the other triangle. So I hope that wasn't confusing. Just watch what I'm doing. I'm going to chain 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm doing it tight. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Let's stop and see if we make it to the very first double crochet on the 4th. 1, 2, 3, not quite. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is the first. So that's a tad bit too many, so I'm going to pull out 2 doubles. And I like how that no, I don't. I need to add 1. I'm going to add 1. I don't want it to be too tight, or it's not going to have that, keep that pretty shape. Okay, so I'm going to go back up to 20. Try that again. I'm going to add 1 more. 21. That's better. So if I'm holding that chain right here, and if I lay that flat, see how it's not distorting the side of this triangle? Now let's say I chain too few and I have to pull it to stretch. See how it warps that shape? So that's what I'm going for. A nice pretty length that'll go over to this double crochet and not distort the side of my triangle. I'm making it a lot harder than it really is, I promise. I don't mean to. All right, so to slip stitch it, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top triangle. This isn't the bottom. This is the bottom. This is the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to pinch that very first double crochet and slip stitch around that post, which is a little wonky because it's the chain's wrapped around our hook. One, two, three. Oh, come on. There. Now slip stitch, chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. Okay, there. So now we've got the chain that our towel hangs on, and the last thing we need to do is sew on our button. So I am going to go ahead and weave in my ends later and go right to sewing on my button. So for my towel, I chose this blue button. You guys can use whatever button you want, whatever color you want. And I'm going to take whenever I sew my buttons on, I like to use the same color embroidery floss. So I'm just going to pull out a strand. It's about a foot long. And then get my smaller needle. I'm going to go ahead and just thread that onto my needle. And I'm going to start from the inside. So I'm going to slide my hand to the inside, and I'm going to hold my button where I want it. Now, before I start this, where you sew on your button is completely up to you. I like to sew mine over the peak, that last row 7 peak that we worked. I like to put the holes of my button on that last peak. So almost the round edge of my button kind of lines up with the slip stitches from slip stitching the pieces together. But you don't have to do that. If you want to bring it down a little bit, just make sure you're working over the double crochets from the peak, because you don't want to work into that hole, right? You're not going to have anything to sew your button to. So just make sure you're over the double crochets and not the holes. All right, so to start that over, I'm going to set my button right over the double crochets, and then I'm going to go from the inside of my towel, or my holder. Make sure it stays nice and straight. Come up one side, and now I'm pulling. I should have weaved in my tails. I'm pulling my needle until the end of the embroidery floss is in my hand on the inside of the towel. So in my hand, it's wrapped around my fingers. My hand on the inside, I'm holding that tail, and the only reason I'm doing that is to keep myself from sewing it into my button. All right, so now I'm going to go in. So as I'm doing this, I'm also making sure I'm catching yarn from those double crochets and making sure my button is staying where I want it to. Sometimes it's hard to find the hole. There we go. This side. I'm going to go one more time. Ow. There we go. I stabbed myself. All right, so now I'm going to go one more time to the inside, and I want to end on the inside. So once you're happy with how secure your button is, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to trim these ends, and I'm just going to double knot this really tight. Pull tight. Pull tight. I'm going to go one more time and pull tight. Trim those ends, and there is our button. Ta-da! It's so cute. Okay, I'm going to get my ends weaved in, and when I come back, I'm going to show you guys how we just slide that towel on the inside, okay? I'll be right back. Alright, so I have all my ends weaved in, and I have to confess, on my other towel toppers, I didn't weave in the end of my chain. I just snipped them on each side. Okay, anyway, so I like to keep my towel folded, where it's just folded one over the other, and then I make sure that the cats are facing up, or whatever picture you have is facing up, and then the side, I just slide in, bring it around that chain, and then I just pull that through, and then I try to keep that towel from bunching up too much. I like it to stay that nice straight fold. Flip it over. I'm going to pull that cat out just a bit. I want the cat in the bikini and the hula skirt hanging out. There. That's better. And there we go. There is your towel topper. Actually, I'm going to pull it out even more because I want to be able to see her because she's cute. Straighten that. Okay guys, there is your Granny Triangles towel topper. I hope you guys enjoyed my tutorial. Hit that thumbs up if you did. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Leave me a comment, let me know what you guys think about my little Granny towel topper. Actually, whenever I did my first towel topper, one of my subscribers asked me to do a granny stitch towel topper, and it was been a while ago, but if you know who you are, and you're the reason why I decided to finally break down and do this granny one. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. Hit that thumbs up. Check out the description box. I've got links down there for all my social medias. If you guys make this, tag me in it, post it. I want to see. And my email address is down there if you want to send me a picture. I love it whenever you guys send me or show me what you make from my tutorials. But okay, that is it. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.